Stay updated with what businesses are doing in the Middle East and find new strategies to grow your business. I am Ayman Aitani, Business Growth Specialist, and this is BizWrap. Today, Apple and Facebook's privacy is summed up in a very clear ad campaign that Apple is pursuing. I will break down the key messages from the ad. Plus, it's official. Amazon has purchased MGM Studios for $8.45 billion. Amazon now owns the rights to movies like James Bond, The Pink Panther, The Voice US, and it will bring them to Prime. And there's also a pipeline of videos coming up and production capability. We'll talk more about what that means for Netflix and Amazon themselves. And Snapchat is improving its product regularly over the last couple of years. They've added within the Middle East a product called Spotlight, which surfaces content from users that you don't follow. It's a response to TikTok's growing popularity. They're also adding e-commerce functionality, which we will go over some videos. Plus, data. We talk a lot about data. I'm in meetings all the time about data, importance of data. Here, I'm going to show you an example of how data is measuring data from food and coffee shops is measuring how closely we're coming back to work post-COVID. And lastly, in a retro bit, we're going to look at Twitter's defining moment in 2009, when news organizations who always looked at social media as non-news, it's things that kids play, or a non-official news. That's a turning defining point where Twitter was considered to be a legitimate source for news and information. I'm Ayman Aitani, and this is BizWrap. Apple and Facebook currently are not very good friends. Think of Ross and Rachel on a break. A lot of things going on there and a lot of backstories and so on. A big portion of Facebook's revenue, and Google and others, is from advertising revenue, where advertisers spend money there to drive business results, whether it's purchases via app subscriptions, or a brand building aspect via videos and awareness and so on. Apple, on the other hand, their business model does not rely on advertising. Their business model is largely based on the hardware they sell, the phones, the tablets, and the computers, in addition to the digital revenue they have from subscriptions that they're increasing in value. So Apple's focusing a lot on the user privacy. They always have, ever since Apple's inception. And one big move that they've done with a recent update to iOS is they are reducing the amount of information that others can track. What will happen is it's going to be a rough 2 years for them, and in 2 years or so, maybe a little bit less, there'll be a newer way for businesses to track their ad spend without going deeper into the privacy of users. Think of Flash. Adobe's Flash format, when Apple did a significant change to having Adobe Flash videos not display on the device, new video formats came, and it's no longer an issue the way it was when Apple first announced it. So the rivalry is there, and there's an ad campaign that Apple is launching on this. We're going to take a look at the video. I'm going to walk you through what it looks like.
Felix?
So the issue here is you have Felix. He ordered coffee. He's getting into his Uber. The barista comes with him. He asks information about where you're going and your information. The barista answers. You get to see here more and more people are gathering around Felix as he is going through his day. He's at the bank with a bank statement. Felix has an eye. Somebody you don't know has a copy of this. And as he proceeds, more and more are going through. Now he's in the store. Other entities are looking at what is he looking at, what is he buying, what is placing in his cart, what is he removing. As he goes, more and more people are coming in, and now he's in his home. Felix sits down, goes to his phone, and he has the choice. Ask app not to track. When he does this, you can see poof, 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 one at a time, it's gone. So it's a clear, significant message from Apple with regards to their stand on privacy, and they're trying to explain it in a very clear and straightforward way. Of course, Facebook have their argument as well, their own equivalent of this on what they track and what they don't track, and the big role they place they play with the small to medium businesses, because a lot of businesses rely on Facebook and Google and others on growing their business using media spend. So this is why I know there's going to be a resolution between the two, where it balances privacy and the needs for businesses to grow. Moving on, we're going to talk about Amazon and MGM. Amazon has acquired the production company MGM, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, $8.5 billion. So you've recognized this this icon there. You've had this at Tom and Jerry and some movies. That's the opening part. Now, why is this a big deal? Amazon has already spent billions of dollars, billions with a B, on producing content for you to watch on Prime Video. A lot of that, so it's not a Game of Thrones. So Game of Thrones was a huge success, and a lot of others are trying to replicate it. So that type of success is what Amazon, Netflix, Apple TV Plus, and others are trying to replicate. So with these billions on MGM, first, Amazon has acquired the rights to existing franchises that we like James Bond, Tom and Jerry, Pink Panther, The Voice US. So those are now owned by Amazon, and they can have them ready on Prime. Another part is MGM is not sitting idle. They have a long pipeline of production coming up, which also is now within Amazon's remit, and eventually they'll have it on Prime Video. And a key aspect to this as well is Amazon wants to retain users for Amazon's Prime service. Amazon's Prime service makes them around $25 billion a year with a B, 25 billion from monthly subscriptions. So it's in Amazon's interest to keep us within, because there's more value there. So you're still paying depending on what country you're in, anywhere from 16 dirhams to 35 or 45 dirhams. I think 60 in some countries, 60 dirhams in some countries. So whatever it is, the more when you pay, you keep that subscription for getting a free next day delivery, access to Prime Video, a lot of other music, Amazon Music, and so on. So you have that. So the more value that's there, and I've read a bunch of books on subscriptions, and a lot of it has to do with let them pay X and then let them get much more value there. So that's the key proposition there. So if they can maintain this 25 billion, that's 1 year versus the 8.5 billion of MGM. Something I'm personally excited about is getting Tom and Jerry on streaming. So my kids are still young. They always ask me for streaming. They always watch parts of it on YouTube. So that's snippets, not full episodes. And I pay for Amazon Prime today. I pay for OSN, Netflix, and Apple TV Plus, right? So there are the movies there, Tom and Jerry movies, but not the real ones, not the shows from the 60s. So I'm hoping that eventually they will make their way there. One final note on this before I close is that a tech company 50 years ago buying MGM, 50 years ago, companies like MGM, they continue to be very relevant because they create stars, and stars were much more important long before we had our influencers today. So having a tech company buy MGM now is a big deal. It was not something likely to happen 50 years ago, but today is very normal. It's going to say, okay, Amazon did this, as a tech company bought this. What is Netflix going to buy? What is Apple TV Plus going to buy? What are others going to buy? So that's the current question. Next, Snapchat.
Let me show you.
So Snapchat introduced in the Middle East the Spotlight functionality. I was on TV answering questions about this. So with Snapchat, what you have to keep in mind, and that's what I shared live when answering those questions. What Snapchat is, you have 3 different modes of communication, broadly, right? So there's a direct one between you and your friends, where you communicate with them. There's the part where you post stories or your friends post stories that you consume. And the stories that we know on Instagram and Facebook and WhatsApp and LinkedIn and many others, a lot of that is inspired from the success of stories initially on Snapchat. And the third part is where you follow brands and influencers and media companies to get some of their content as well. So those are broadly the 3 main modes of discovering the content. With Spotlight, what happens is content from people who are not your friends will surface to you. Or if you're posting content there, you have much wider reach than only your friends. So let's say you're a content creator and you have 400, 500 friends. When you post on Snapchat, a subset of those 500 will see your content. But what Snapchat will do is they're going to look at the level of engagement of that subset of your friends. Are they engaging with this relatively higher than other videos of yours and others? They will widen that to a couple of thousand people. They're going to monitor the engagement. If it's higher and better than other videos, they're going to widen that reach to so many others. So as a content creator, you have access to a much wider pool of people who can see your content. Or as you as a user, now you have, if you're consuming, not generating content, you can now consume content, not just your friends, who some of them are boring or just fake, or you know what I'm talking about and who I'm talking about of your friends. So you have access to funner friends without the strings and the weight that comes with it. So you have much more interesting content that comes your way that Snapchat surfaces to you based on how others globally engage with this. There is similarity there to what TikTok is. So when you join today TikTok, post your first video, you're going to have a couple of thousand people see it, a couple of hundred as a worst case scenario. Those are more than you would deserve, because you just got started on it and you have 0 friends on it. So the organic reach of TikTok there is big, and it's very TikTok. The consumption of content there is very engaging, very entertaining, and the algorithm learns very quickly about your behavior and surfaces more content. So that's where these channels are heading towards. There's a video to show you of how it works before I move on to the Snapchat's e-commerce.
Hi,
with e-commerce,
Keepan here, computer vision engineer. My team at Snap works to help make our camera smarter so it can better understand the world around us. Last year, we introduced landmarkers, which enabled the Snapchat camera to understand individual buildings and allowed lenses to interact with some of the world's greatest landmarks. Now, we've continued to evolve the technology to understand and augment larger areas, unlocking exciting new capabilities. Using various sources of data, 360-degree images, and community snaps, we're able to build up a digital representation of the physical world, a point cloud representing the geometry of the surfaces around us. Combining this with 3D reconstruction, machine learning, and distributed cloud compute, we're able to map whole city blocks. Meet local lenses. Now, Snapchatters can join a persistent shared AR world built right on top of the physical one. You and your friends can step into these worlds together, collaborating creatively and experiencing a whole new dimension of AR. As our team continues to build these new worlds, we hope you enjoy experiencing the power of them.
AR, short for augmented reality, you'll be seeing a lot more of this, right? So with Snapchat and Facebook and other platforms as well. If you've interacted a few years ago with Pokemon Go, that was the poster child of augmented reality, where you point your phone onto something and you get to see that and interact and move and change your behavior there. Now, moving on to Snapchat's e-commerce part. They've been doing much more when it comes to e-commerce, and that's always a positive sign for them and for the retail industry that I heavily focus on, trying to help them to digitize how they're trying to move from offline retail to online retail. So the part of interest here is when you don't go to a physical store, sometimes you want to see what something looks like on you. And that has always been the promise of AR. So you use your camera and you take a look at what the product looks like on you, whether it's on a wrist like this, or I've seen some apps do this on makeup related to this. And even long before smartphones, I remember I was traveling in Italy once. It was for an anniversary, and I forgot why. I should know this, but I don't. I was there for something personal, and I came across for sunglasses, they had like an augmented reality mirror that does this, and that was long before smartphones were super popular like they are today. So this has always been a promise for retail. So you're going to see more and more of this. Apple has something as well on this. So and I'm just bringing this up for you to get used to this. Now, when we talk about influencers as well on Snapchat, they're doing something where when influencers go live, they can talk about e-commerce products, or they can talk about what they talk about in terms of their lifestyle and how they're trying to tell us what to do. So one aspect there that Snapchat is adding, and also Facebook have that, and TikTok, and a few other non-common platforms if you want. What it is, you can gift you can gift the influencer. So you actually pay for these gifts. So you pay cash for virtual gifts that you would send to the influencer, and that is then revenue shared with the influencer. So part of that goes to Snapchat or the platform or whatever platform the influencer's on, and part of that goes to the influencer themselves. So that also is another revenue stream for influencers. Because I know a lot of people are worried about influencers and where they make their money. That's also one clear way for them to do so. All right, enough with Snapchat e-commerce. Next, we're moving on to tracking user behavior via our user habits day to day.
All right, let's get started.
You guys are in the wrong conference room.
Oh, sorry about that.
Have you been doing more physical meetings post-COVID? I have. Business meetings, not social, right? So more, I've been asked for more, and I've been open for more. I'm still avoiding some, but I've been doing much more. I've even attended an event, like a good friend of mine was speaking at an event, and there were 50 people in the room. That was new for me. I haven't been able to do that before. So I can see more and more of business picking up in the Emirates, and that also has to do with long-term efficiency in planning and making sure that COVID does not spread the way it has in other countries. So with physical meetings taking place for work, I came across an article that stood out for me. So it was a Bloomberg article about how they used data from purchase from one of the chains, Pret-a-Manger, to look at the frequency of purchase of Pret-a-Manger versus before. So they're saying now it's up to around 50% from one of the business districts. And what stood out for me is, one, there's an increase in business picking up physical meetings and going to the office and so on. Two, humans are such creatures of habit of buying coffee and food from a certain location in a certain proximity and so on, that we're so structured in terms of habit that we are able to use that as a basis for data to monitor how we're growing in terms of the physical aspect of this. Let me know more in the comments if you've been doing more physical meetings. I know I have. I've also been observing many more business meetings in Dubai as well. You can track the business meeting person, right? With the jackets that are put on the side, the blazers. You could look at their carry-ons, or 4 or 5 people who are a little bit somehow smart, casually dressed on a 7 p.m. or an 8 p.m. After a long day of work. Next, we're going to talk about WhatsApp's voice notes being much faster.
Hi, boss. This is a really long, really boring voice note about content that I want to pitch to you, but because I know you're busy, I suggest you play it faster. Because WhatsApp just added this capability. You can now play voice notes at normal speed, at 1.5 speed, and at double speed. If you don't have this option yet, make sure to install the latest update. See you tomorrow.
Now, you've noticed with WhatsApp that the voice notes, you have a small number next to them. And the video that Rita prepared shows that 1.5, and 2 times speed. Initially, voice notes for me were not, let's say I was not very open to having voice notes for work, but I've seen that I've been able to reduce a phone call, or like a long phone call or a 30-hour online meeting, to a few voice notes back and forth that I can take care of in between my meetings or in the evening once my day is over. And with the increase of volume and speed, volume of voice notes and their duration, I can see 6 updates on WhatsApp, friends saying, voice notes over 1 minute, they will not be opened or read. So it's like there's this animosity on this. So this is WhatsApp's response to the increased volume of voice notes and the increased duration of voice notes, where you can listen to it at a faster speed. So give it a try. I've been seeing more and more people in my circle use it more frequently, and I suggest you do. All right. One more aspect as well from an app perspective, also from the Facebook family, is likes on Instagram. A lot of us measure likes. I know when I talk to anybody, whether they're CEOs of a huge business or a 7-year-old cousin, they ask about likes. How many likes are you getting? What are you doing? So that's how we measure our self-worth. I also know a lot of people who, when they post an image, if it doesn't get a certain number of likes within a certain amount of time, they take it down. So there's a huge psyche around this, and I've been keeping track of this for a while. There was once the On the XP conference in Dubai where I spoke about that. I'm going to share a video about this. The Instagram likes are going away. That addresses mostly the insecurities that we all have about, I posted the video, I only have 2 views, or I don't have enough likes on my page. So we all have on my page or on the post, we all have those insecurities. So with Instagram hiding those likes, the trigger is to have people more confident to post more, and to get them to post more and more content, to build that habit until they're much more comfortable broadening their distribution. So it's coming. It's not here yet for all of the countries, but it's coming. So there's an option for you to turn it off in your settings now. You turn it off for you and for others to see your posts. This way, our insecurities, we're fine. We can live through this. We're okay doing this. And I'm going to give it a try myself. I'm going to see, do I feel better about myself or not? So I'll let you know. I'll update you on this. But I don't think it's a big issue for me personally, but I know that it is for many, many, many other people. So give it a try and let me know if it works for you. I'm going to turn this off for a while for me to see. What might affect me personally is actually, I sometimes look for measures of popularity on other people's content. That also might change for me if I do this. So, but very likely I'm going to keep it on by default. Next, we're going to talk about our retro bit. In the retro bit, we're going to talk about Twitter's defining moment. So randomly on TV, I came across the movie Sully for Tom Hanks. I was avoiding it for a long time because I'm trying not to watch, because I used to travel post-COVID, pre-COVID, a lot more than I do now. So I try to avoid movies involving plane crashes, right? So I don't want the visuals. But since I thought, I have been traveling for a while, and with COVID, unlikely for now, I can go ahead and see it. Plus, I'm a Tom Hanks fan. So one aspect here is on this aspect. I remember very clearly back in 2009 when the plane landed in the Hudson. I remember it was a big deal. It was a very casual guy who was heading towards. He said, he posted on Twitter saying, "I'm on a ferry heading on the Hudson, heading to help out people on a plane crash." That was a picture. The picture he posted was then copied on, was then used by so many TV stations globally as the source of the news. And that was a turning point, because before then, the news stations would not embrace social media. It wasn't official news. It wasn't a source. It wasn't a reliable. Those were concerns and terms that they were using for that. But this defining moment of getting that news first from a non-journalist who is being helpful to do so, that is a defining moment for Twitter. And me watching that movie in particular reminded me of this very important turning point for this. They also use TwitPic. The reason, if you notice in the tweet, there's TwitPic because the early version of Twitter did not have images like we have today. We had to use a third party for this. So we'd upload it to TwitPic, and from TwitPic we'd post to Twitter on this. Of course, with time, Twitter brought this in, but by default, it wasn't there. I miss you, Twitter 1.0, and retro tech has a very soft place in my heart. So with this, this brings me to the end of today's BizWrap. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in 2 more weeks. All right, the episode is over. Thank you for watching.